challenging the narrative. I want to talk about something that most leaders don't realize is driving their decisions every day. The narrative in their head. Because your brain doesn't just observe what's happening, it creates story around it. And the problem isn't that stories exist. It's that most of them go unchallenged. Let me bring you in. Have you ever reacted to something only to realize later the story you told yourself wasn't accurate? Why this matters? If you don't challenge your narrative, you misinterpret situations. You react instead of leading. You reinforce patterns that doesn't serve you because the brain hates uncertainty, so it creates certainty even when it's wrong. And that certainty becomes your reality. Liberation. Not every thought deserves authority. Let's start here. Most leaders assume, if I'm thinking it, it must be true. But that's not accurate. A thought is just a mental event, not a fact. And many of those thoughts were formed years ago in survival environment, under pressure, fear, or limitation. Impact? When unexamined, leaders operate from outdated beliefs. Confidence feels inconsistent. Decisions are driven by fear, not clarity. Benefits? When challenged, psychological space opens up. Leaders regain authority over their thinking. Identity becomes intentional, not inherited. Liberation starts here. You stop believing every story your mind produces. Visibility. Narratives shape how you show up. Here's where it becomes visible. If your internal narrative is, they're ignoring me, I'm not ready, I'll be judged if I speak up, then your behavior will follow. You don't need response to reality. You respond to your interpretation of it. Impact when distorted. Over-explaining or staying silent. Misreading others' intention. Withdrawing in moments that require presence. Your brain's negativity bias makes this worse. It focuses on threats over safety. Criticism over praise. Benefits with frame. Clearer communication, more grounded presence, visibility that reflects reality, not fear, transformation. Narratives reinforce identity and systems. This is where it gets bigger. The story you repeat becomes your identity. And when enough people share the same narrative, it becomes culture. It becomes system. Impact when left unchecked. Leaders reinforce limiting identity. Teams operate from assumption instead of clarity. Systems stay rooted in outdated thinking. Benefit when shifted. Leaders rewrite internal scripts. Teams question assumptions. Systems begin to evolve. Changing the narrative isn't positive thinking. It's choosing a more accurate story. The leadership practice. This is where leaders have to get disciplined. Instead of accepting the story your brain offers, ask better questions. What evidence supports this? What contradicts it? What else could be true? Or even more simply, is this a fact or a story? And sometimes the most powerful move is not to fight the thought, but to create distance from it. I'm noticing the thought instead of becoming the thought. The leadership reality. Here's the part most people won't say. Your narrative will feel true, especially when it's wrong, because your brain is designed for survival, not accuracy. So if you don't challenge it, you will misread situations, you will react unnecessarily, you will reinforce patterns that limit your leadership. And over time, that story becomes your identity. Closing reflection. The voice in your head is not always your enemy, but it's also not always your authority. And leadership requires knowing the difference. Because the moment you question the story, you create space to lead differently. Final truth. You don't just lead from what's happening. You lead from the story you tell yourself about what's happening. And if you don't challenge that story, it will quietly limit everything you're capable of.